My name is Sam Dhanashekaran and welcome to this database lessons video series. In this lesson, we will talk about tablespace in detail. Okay, so open your Oracle SQL Developer and then go to the DBA window. So here under storage, you would see tablespaces. Okay, so let me expand tablespaces. Okay, so let me click this example tablespace. Okay, so the minute I click the example tablespace, it shows me the properties of the tablespace, and I'm not going to go over everything, but then I'll explain a couple of important things. First is the tablespace name, that's the example, and then the second one is block size. I will explain block size in the next video or probably in the next couple of videos because I have to use diagrams and everything. Okay, but then imagine block size is let's say you are building a brick house. Okay, and the house would be made up of bricks, right? So each single brick is kind of like a block that builds that house, right? So I'm going to explain that later. So block size of the table space, and then initial extent, meaning that when the table space is created, it's created with this much of initial size, right? I will explain this also later. So and then uh, how many extents it can grow, and what is the maximum size it can grow, like that. And this one is very important: status online. A table space has to be online so that it can be used. There are situations where you would make a table space to go offline for maintenance purpose. I'll explain that later. Okay, and then the contents, it's going to store permanent type of objects in there. So this table, for example, if you go to this temp table, the contents would be temporary, meaning that, like I explained in a couple of previous videos, the contents that are used for temporary calculations, like when process is doing a sort or in a group by or any other thing, they use this temporary table space to write data and then remove the data when it's done. Okay, so the contents in this table space would be temporary, so like that. So I'm going back to example table space, and then extent management local. This is pretty much standard these days, and segment space management auto, that's pretty much standard. And then a table space can be a big file table space, meaning that it can have only one data file. I'll explain that later. So the important thing is, if you click this data files, you'll see how many data files make this table space. So right now there is only one data file, and you can also see the free size and the space being used and those things. And you can also see the objects that are stored in the table space. For example, the owner HR, when the schema owner HR stored its table regions in there, and that's occupying this much space and everything. Okay, it has a usage chart also. So it says that this SH owner has is using this much space, like that. And if you click SQL, this is very interesting. This would show how the table space, the command that could be used to create this table space at this point of time, right? So it's create table space name, which is example, and then you specify data file, and then you give the path to the file, so it will create this file. and then you specify what is the size of it. Auto extend on next, meaning that when it creates with this size, uh, and if that size is used, then it can automatically extend. Like when it reaches the full capacity of this size, it can automatically extend on next. That's what. And it specifies when it extends how much space it needs to occupy for the growth. Okay, so it will extend by, what is this, around uh, 600 MB or something, right? And then up to a maximum of what size it can go and stop, right? Somewhere around like 32 GB. So when you create a table space, this is very important. You create a table space, you give the table space name, and then you specify the file name, and then you specify the initial size of the file name, and then you specify, once the initial size is reached, do you want this to be extended? Yes, auto extend on. But then for each and every time it gets extended, how much extra space need to be added, that's specified here. And then you also specify a hard limit for the maximum size. Okay, it can grow only up to 30 GB, that's it. After that it's going to throw an error. Okay, and then no logging online and those things I'll explain. Permanent, it shows that this table space is used to store for permanent objects. And then the block size of the table space. In I think in Oracle 9 or maybe Oracle 10, it started supporting table spaces with different block sizes. Okay, so and then extent management local, which is that locally managed table that you would hear from Oracle DBAs, and segment space management auto. All right, uh, you know, back then, at least 8 years ago, probably 6 7 years ago. Right now it's 2013, right? Uh, DBS used to manage these things like now the extent management and the space management. So now those things are automatically managed by Oracle, and Oracle recommends that. Okay, so this is what a table space is. Basically, a table space is a container where objects can be stored, right? So example is a table space, and it has these objects are stored, right? And then sys aux, that's a table space, it has these objects are stored. Okay, thank you for watching.